So welcome, Robin. Robin is the vice principal of Queen Victoria School. And Queen Victoria School is a participating school in our research already for almost 2 years. It's a school in which we have spent a day a couple of weeks ago, and you will see a video of that. And Robin is going to introduce you to the work they have been doing during 2 years. So thank you very much, Robin, for being here today.
Thank you. All right. So I'm going to talk to you more about Binogi and how we took the approach of implementing and integrating various approaches to support the climate of the school. And I want you to think about the climate of the school and how we embrace diversity and what is a safe climate. And for me, my background's in equity and looking at an approach to support student success is, the key factor of what we do in our daily work. And, I can say today, we all feel safe in the building, we're all looking that we're safe and we feel comfortable. The same thing can be said in the classroom setting, but it's not always true. And part of my rationale for that is really understanding what students are thinking, how they approach the learning, and going back to my experience of, I remember being in a classroom as a resource, asking students that were 90% Punjabi, and I have Punjabi friends and I know about their backgrounds, and I asked them, I said, tell me what you had for dinner. And the majority of answers were rice and chicken. And I said, well, I went to Gerard Street and I had this authentic Indian cuisine, and I kind of related it back, and everyone just looked at me. They were like, and so what? They did not feel comfortable having these conversations with me. So I was actually collecting data. And later on, when I went to talk to the students, they told me why they didn't feel safe or comfortable, why they didn't want to participate in this conversation. And I realized at that point that we weren't in a safe environment. Students do not want to share their voice. And this work with Binogi helps us to come to that realization and understanding that this platform really allows students to embrace who they are, support that first language that they have and cultural aspects, and really bring those conversations alive. And that's why I was so invested in piloting this project at our school, because I knew the background, I knew what this work was all about, and I wanted to build capacity within the school setting to ensure teachers understood what this was all about, because we have to meet everyone at a different entry point. And for my leadership, building that capacity was instrumental, not only with students, but with staff members. So that was a key sort of initiative and approach that I kind of went in with as we looked at Binogi. So again, we utilize this program so far for 2 years now. It's been implemented with great success. It does come with a little bit of challenges and resistance, but it's, again, approaching it with an open mind, a growth mindset, and really helping teachers to understand and uncover the importance, the impact of what that really means. And I think that's the key piece. If the education piece is not there, you're not going to have a team with you to move forward with it. But Binogi has been great. So I'm going to share more about what that looked like, sound like, and felt like in our school setting. So Binogi is an online platform that was used to support various curriculum areas, such as math, geography, and science, mostly with the grade 7 and 8 teachers at my school. And those key subject areas were directly related to the Ontario curriculum. So everything that was being done was not reinventing the wheel, but more so building onto what teachers can actually utilize in the classroom setting, and to actually make work easier for them, because a lot of the stuff was already planned out for teachers. So it wasn't an extra workload at all for them. So part of that platform, I just kind of shared a screenshot here. This kind of just goes into some of the strands and shows you some of the videos that support those strands. So part of that platform allowed us to click on whatever topic that we're utilizing, going to be teaching, I should say, and then have certain videos to support that lesson that was going to be instructed by the educator. So as you can see, there's so much here, and it's constantly growing as well. So Binogi itself is that online platform, and I'll show you that in a bit. But what it really did for my staff and the students in my school was really provide another outlet to support what meaningful teaching could look like, provide meaningful conversations and discourse in the school setting, allow students to actually share more about themselves and to feel comfortable. And when students felt comfortable, more conversations occurred in the school setting. And part of that initiative was, again, building that relationship with students and really helping them to understand that their voice and that their first language is important. So the minute that we started to talk about, first languages and the languages that students spoke, they were actually hesitant to share that. But when teachers started to actually use the platform and share videos with languages that students were not even comfortable, were familiar with, I should say, students were asking questions. They're like, "Oh, I don't understand this. Why are you playing this?" And this actually became more of a conversation to let students know that it's okay to listen to, videos in different languages because we're learning, and there are students that are speaking different languages, and it kind of shows them how difficult it is to interpret and understand, especially if you have a first language, that's not English. So it's a great learning experience for students, I should say. And going through that process, students were kind of understanding why we were using different languages in the school for the videos, and helping to understand that their peers needed support. So it was building that comfort level for them. So the use of the first language for small group instruction, for whole class lessons, were really instrumental and powerful to help every student understand the importance of first language and the meaning behind it and how students learn. Um, the videos itself were spoken in different dialects at times and had different cultural representations, skin colors, etc. That also now initiated an approach to support that safeness in the classroom setting, knowing that students were connecting themselves to what they saw, and it was visually appealing. Students obviously like the visual appeal of that, of the videos, I should say. So that then encompassed more of, oh, I wanted to learn more. This is a different way of learning, rather than seeing, the traditional way of the teacher on the board doing the lessons. Again, the video was also instrumental because students were able now to go back and review them themselves. We all understand that we process information differently. So if we're just sharing information and expecting students to actually now do the work, that's not for all students. We have to understand that students need time to process. So the videos, since being able to go back and revisiting videos, chunking it up, stopping, taking notes, played a huge important role in terms of how Binogi was effective in the teaching piece and learning piece for students. The more we actually utilized the videos and had conversations around what the videos were about and the first languages, more meaningful conversations came out. Students were asking more questions. They had more lived experiences to share as they were resonating with the content as well. So that meaningful discourse was actually coming out in various ways. And that's another impact that Binogi had. And we'll talk more about that later. Of course, when that style of teaching was brought to the classroom setting, yeah, I collected data. We saw more hands being up. We saw more conversations happening. We saw more interaction with teachers. We saw more interaction with students to students, because now students felt comfortable with their first language. So they were actually talking now with other folks with their first language. Even the teacher, we had a teacher that spoke various languages, and she was having conversations. She actually felt more comfortable to have these conversations as well, because the whole time she was just speaking English. So this actually gave her some motivation and engagement to have these conversations, and the courage, I would say. So these courageous conversations really occurred through our time using Binogi and allowing students to feel comfortable with the program and knowing that we were trying to make them understand the importance of their first language. Again, just a way to showcase the way we teach and how students are able to connect with that teaching at home. I think the big piece here was because it was on a platform and students can actually gain access to it at home, it really built that parent connection and helping parents to understand the importance of first language and how students learn and how that background knowledge that they came with and have really supported that learning. So part of those videos, the videos actually spoken in their first language, and it also was closed captioned in their first languages as well. So that building that relationship with parents was instrumental, and having that parent communication with the teacher actually grew, because at my school, for example, we don't really have a lot of parent engagement and parent involvement in the school setting because of the language barrier. But with this program, parents are actually embracing the program and having more questions about it. And from my perspective as a leader and talking to the students, um, I saw students actually doing more work at it at home with it. So that again, from my data collection, I saw that motivation and engagement happening at school and at the home level as well. Those approaches were very authentic learning. And the great things about the videos, again, were students were able to start videos at their learning. They didn't all have to be at the same pace. And going back to specific concepts and areas of focus was a key piece to supporting that student achievement. So as I was mentioning earlier, the videos, again, here is just a sample of what the languages are available for some of the videos that are there. And it's available in closed captioned as well. And here's just a screenshot of one of the videos, and this is on climate and weather. And again, showing one of the first languages on the screen there. So the Escape project is another aspect of Binogi. It's actually a bunch of lessons that are associated with the videos. So the lessons itself contain valuable information that relate right back to the curriculum strands on the specific subject areas that you're teaching, and the videos are directly linked. So if you are looking for a particular lesson, for example, the videos are there, and you can click back and sort of decide what you want to teach and how you want to teach it. I mean, again, understanding that we have the diverse needs in the classroom setting, you'd obviously have to do some modifications and accommodations to those lessons, depending on the needs of your classroom setting. So they were all relevant and important. And again, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's actually utilizing stuff that's there, that's meaningful, that's going to work with how you are reporting on the student success of students. So here are some of the resources here. They have a lot of resources for math science, instructional strategies to support the scaffolding and the ways to develop student understanding through a lot of graphic organizers and stuff like that. There's also curriculum mapping pieces where you can see how various types of forms of assessments can be utilized and supported based on the strands that you're working on. And I think a big one here for me was the actual curriculum comparison. There's actually a curriculum in various parts of the world and demonstrating how that's taught in other countries for the educators to understand, okay, well, wait, it's taught this way. Because when students are actually learning, at times we have this power and privilege. We teach in a way that we want students to follow our directions and instructions. But learning is not about that. Learning is about acquiring that knowledge and demonstrating that knowledge. Students come with prior knowledge. And if we understand what that prior knowledge is and tap into their schema and allow them to access and support and showcase that knowledge, then we know that they're on the right track. We have to promote that outlet, that voice, to demonstrate that. So understanding that the way curriculum is taught in different countries really supports the way families were teaching students. So from my data collection, students were telling me that, well, I'm learning it this way at school, but my parents are teaching me a totally different way. And this is the way I'm more comfortable with because I'm getting more support from home. Like my parents are, providing me these drills, et cetera, et cetera. And it's okay for them to share that learning in the classroom, right? The answer is right. The answer is right. Or even deriving, showing that how they derive their knowledge and understanding to the answer. It's very important. So I think that is a key piece as you navigate your system, your way through that Binogi resource piece to really understand what that looks like and sounds like in other countries. So part of those curriculum connections, I just kind of shared this here as well. It has a lot of ways to support with vocabulary, looking at that academic language, looking at flipped classroom activities, interactive games. So it's fully loaded with approaches and strategies that you can actually use to support how you're teaching the curriculum utilizing the aspects of Binogi. So for us, again, it was used in the intermediate classrooms. It offered those video supports. It offered the approach to look at escape. And all of this combined really helped educators to understand the power that this platform had and the support that the platform had for them. Going into this at the beginning stages, teachers were like, oh, I need to learn all this stuff all over again. I have stuff to do. I just don't have the time to engage in this work. And that advocacy piece for myself and building that capacity of leaders really helped to help teachers understand that, taking a little bit of time to actually look at the program can actually be more beneficial for you. And it actually, in the long run, from my interviews that I had with teachers, is that time invested really saved them a lot more time when teaching the curriculum. So it is very powerful. It does empower students. It does keep students engaged. And it's, again, adding to your instructional approaches in the classroom, which was very beneficial. Students were able to work individually on it, one-on-one time with the teacher. Students were able to work on it as a whole class. The approaches that teachers took was all varying depending upon what they were teaching and who they need to support with various skill sets. They were, again, integrated in what teachers were already doing. So it wasn't an add-on, it was integrated with the work that they were doing to support their teaching. And a lot of teachers actually use it for extensions and consolidating material and to even support critical thinking, because some of the language and some of the work within Binogi in the lessons were actually had a bit of high order thinking, I would say. So it actually supported students at different entry points. It really supported the differentiation process and provided, again, ways for students to learn in that interactive way, to share their learning visually and orally, and through those interactive quizzes that were available in Binogi. I think a bigger piece of this learning was through the assessment lens, knowing that assessment needs to be authentic. It's not just a traditional way of what we see assessment as pencil and paper tasks or a rich task. Students want to share their learning in different ways. And Binogi was one way that student voice actually said, I like this way of learning. This actually helps me to understand the facts, understand the concepts, and my knowledge is there. I need this tool to share my knowledge. So that was an important takeaway for me as I was talking to teachers. And again, it's moving away from the colonialism way of thinking and the way we approach curriculum, right? I think that if we're using programs like this, it supports that stance of, wait a minute, how do I support 21st century learners? How do I change what I've been doing? What are best practices? Should I be taking a risk utilizing this resource? And by me taking this risk, what's the outcome? And as a staff, we took this risk and the outcome was there. It was very positive. So again, it's moving away from the non-traditional approaches to 21st century learning and really understanding what that really means to the students in our classroom setting. Here's an example of the quizzes and assignments. Everything is sort of in the system as well, and it tracks everything for you. It tracks what assignment students are doing. It tracks their scores on quizzes, what lessons they've done. So it's pretty cool. Here's just an example again, as I noted, in terms of what they've done, and it sort of ranks them in terms of the easy level, medium level, and hard level. For me as a leader in this project and working with Binogi, it was really important for me to continue the work of helping educators to understand the importance of culturally responsive and relevant pedagogy, and helping teachers to understand how is Binogi supporting this stance. So not just through the understanding of first language and looking at the approaches that the videos had, but looking at the conversations that were happening from watching the videos of Binogi and using the first languages, and how the teachers were able to build upon those conversations. So I'll give you an example. I know one teacher was using fractions, for example, and they're talking about the pizza and chocolate bar, and those are traditional ways of learning fractions, right? I'm sure most of us learned it that way. And through the conversation, students were saying, "Oh, well, why can't we use a samosa to share one part of this uh, fraction?" And as those conversations came up, teachers were understanding that, yeah, I need to look at the values of the cultural aspects that students bring and their identities, and how I can actually move away from the traditional way of my belief of what teaching is, and use that student voice to create a new teaching around how we display this knowledge. So that was a key piece that really helped to build that understanding of that CRRP lens. And not only that, it's really understanding how students were bringing their lived experiences and what that really meant in the classroom. So teachers were now able to have more ways of providing prompts for students to engage in these conversations. And the more prompts that teachers provided allowed for those conversations to happen in the classroom, which kind of changed the dynamics from, last year, for example. So now, like, I knew which students were from Trinidad. They were having conversations with me. They were feeling more comfortable. So the conversations were now being more culturally relevant to them. That's just one example. Here's a project that the ESL teachers were working with some students. Students were actually sharing their love for Binogi, how to help them, how it supported them. And here was just some work that they were doing in regards to a science lesson, and them actually sharing some of their knowledge from their home country and making it relevant and meaningful to what the lesson was all about. So that was pretty neat. And there was a diverse bunch of students there. And before, I remember meeting with the group, and they were just really quiet. And until we showed and used Binogi, they now have just started to feel more comfortable speaking in their first language amongst each other and sharing knowledge, because we also had a translator app to translate that information. But they actually shared more, they were more comfortable sharing around each other. So we had 5 different students with 5 different languages being translated, and they were actually having conversations when teachers were asking them questions. So that was very interesting. Again, I'm just bringing it back to grounding the work again. The work that we do is grounded in human rights. What do we need to do as educators to support how we approach teaching, how we understand human rights, and what that really means in education? Why do we need to do this work? How does it impact the classroom setting? If you don't do the work, then you're kind of missing that key element of how we support student success. For me, doing the work, I saw the achievement. I saw the increase in motivation. I saw the increase in participation. And when students feel comfortable enough to participate and engage in that question and answering period, it shows a lot. Because I'm going to tell you, when I go into classrooms as a leader, I see 5 students raising their hands. It's always, usually, most cases, the same 5 students. Why is that? You have to question that approach of what's happening in the classroom. When we even implemented Binogi, that changed. I saw many different students participating and showcasing their knowledge and understanding. So that alone shows the impact of Binogi, right? And I've been in education for a while. I've been in classes. I pop in classes all the time, and I see the difference. Okay, we're all doing best practices, but how do we rethink our practice? How do we reinvent what we're doing through these new ways of teaching and supporting pedagogy in the classroom? Here's just a teacher response as I end. The teacher was very grateful for the integration and understanding the use of this program, for the appreciation of OISE coming into helping the teachers understand how to use it, as well as having those meaningful conversations in the online environment when we met with the OISE team. So that gratitude is there, and some of these teachers realized that what they were doing in the past wasn't really supporting all the diverse needs in the classroom setting, and which is fair, right? It's all a learning process. And I think that we learn from these experiences, and we can only continue to be better. I think a big push here is the last part is the leadership piece. And Jim spoke to this, is that we need to have equity centered around those leaders, and the leaders need to be equipped with this knowledge. Because again, I was an advocate and an ally supporting this work. I think at times that maybe if I didn't have this background with me, if I didn't emphasize CRRP in my staff meetings, I kind of wonder where this work would have gone. I kind of wonder if I wasn't involved in the classrooms and working with the teachers one-on-one and the children itself, what would have happened? But me continuing to be instrumental in supporting teachers and showing that empathy and providing the resources and providing them with release time and time to collaborate was really, truly worthwhile. And again, as a leader in the building, I can authentically speak to what's happening. And we always have to think about, the data that's being collected and what the actual street data is. What data are we really collecting? Are we collecting authentic data when we're assessing students? And what is authentic data? And that's just another topic on its own. But anyways, I think Binogi is very instrumental in utilizing the data, supporting the ways we differentiate learning, supporting the ways we support 21st century learners, supporting how we adapt and manipulate the way we teach the curriculum. Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think it was extremely interesting, both the keynote from Jim and now this presentation from Robin. I'd like to give you 5 minutes to just stretch your legs for those who are in the room. Get a coffee, get some tea. I'm sure there are still some goodies there. And we are going to prepare for the next workshop. So make sure you have enough strength to go through what is going to come. Okay, I invite here Dania, Liane, May, I believe. Yeah, can you come here?